I'm having a bit of a problem with the amount of electricity in this car. I know there's an earth problem with the hazards, not figured that out yet. But I also found that the alternator doesn't seem to be providing enough charge to the battery. But when I've tested it, the alternator seems to be charging okay. Let me show you. I'm running quite an old Lion battery in this. Now, a lot of folks don't like these batteries, but this one has been in the car since I bought it 10 years ago, pretty much. Probably even longer than that. It's done pretty well, all things considered. Full disclosure on this test, the only draw on this battery, while it's connected to the car, is the clock, which is constantly running. There's nothing else, there's no alarm or anything. Okay, that's pretty typical. When I tested this off camera, it was doing what it was doing before, where the reading on the display there was anything from 8 volts through to 12.6. And now that I have the camera out, obviously it's giving exactly the same reading every single time. Typical. The problem I seem to be having though with this battery is it's not giving a consistent reading. When I'm driving the car, I'm not getting a consistent amount of power. The alternator seems to be doing its job perfectly fine. It just seems to be this battery. The car came to me with this battery, so it's at least 10 years old. That's pretty good innings. I'm going to swap this out. I'm going to give the earth points a clean. I'm going to check the fuses, all that good stuff. And hopefully that will fix the minor charging problem I'm having at the moment. Or rather, the charging isn't the problem, it's the battery, the storage problem, I suppose. I'll replace like for like, so that's the one we need. Wipers are very slow. Let's choke. Right gear, let's help. Nothing's over there. Brand new battery, and just to show you that it's got relevant charge and whatnot in it, 12.7-ish volts. This battery is a bit of a pain to get in and out. The main problem is the battery clamp. It's irritating. But that's the new one in. You can see a little indicator lit up in there. And we know that one's good. I'm now going to sort out this earth point here. This car does have... where are we? Oh yeah. So we've got one earth strap here, which goes from the gearbox bell housing up to here. And then it has a secondary one put in here because this one, for whatever reason, it's not enough on its own. So a while ago I had to put a second one in, and that fixed that problem. The other issue you tend to get is this car runs the old ceramic style fuses, and sometimes they get a bit corroded just where they join, so you can rotate them or remove them and that fixes it. None of them look to be blown or damaged, so I'll be doing that as well. And hopefully that will sort out our problem. Had a bit of a fiddle with the fuses. They all seem to be okay. On your fuse box it tells you what does what, and I think the hazards are on this one. So I replaced that one, and on the face of things there's nothing really wrong with this, except it had basically welded itself in place with corrosion. And yeah, well let me just show you a problem I was having, which I was struggling to understand. My hazard warning lights have stopped working.
So we'll put them on, and there's nothing coming on the dashboard. No clicky.
Dead. What is my interior light doing? How it... What? So you can see what the hazard switch was doing. Flick this switch, and then that light, which is the interior light, would flash. Not flashing right now because the door's open, so it's operating like it should. Now, oh look, there's a light flashing. And that light isn't flashing. Better still, that one is. So that was a nice easy fix. Maybe it wasn't an earth problem after all. Rather, it was a fuse problem. Hurrah, I have my hazards back. So, next thing to test is going to be the battery and the charging thereof. That won't be helping matters. You can see it's a bit corroded, and the hole itself is fairly clean, but the connector here isn't the best. The bolt that connects it, that's nice and clean, but then it's a galvanised bolt, so yeah. I'll get that cleaned up and then we'll reconnect. I don't know if that is the problem, but it certainly won't have helped. That's as shiny and clean as that seems to want to go. Looks a bit rustier on camera than it is in person for some reason. I'm also going to give it a little bit of this stuff. This is used for, well, on motorbikes, lawnmowers, that sort of thing, to keep moisture out of connections. I think that will help in this particular application. So I'll screw that in and then spray this on. It'll creep in a bit better that way. Let's get it going first. It doesn't really spray, it sort of oozes. But that's okay. I'll clean up any excess once we've got this tightened up. Go. I will need to give this engine bay a clean again. It's got quite scruffy from storage. I do like to keep it clean in here. Let's see how much better this starts. It was a bit sluggish before, which was kind of my tip off the battery wasn't quite as it should be. Traditional pegs in place for the choke, and keys down here. So, well, that all springs to life a lot faster. Check we're out of gear, which we are. Okay, yeah, that's massively better. So the new battery has definitely made a difference. There's definitely something wrong with that old battery. It's quite noisy in here until it's warmed up, and obviously we've got that noisy shim that I need to do. It's going to be a while. But I'm quite happy about that, and while it's running, the hazards still work, which is great. And that light doesn't come on stupidly, but you can put it on separately. I will tell you why the cover's off that another time. There's a reason. But yeah, that seems to be charging normally. Now before, if I put the headlights on and fan, it's keeping up this time, and then oh, that's much better. So if I then also put the brakes on, now they slow down a bit, but nowhere near what they did before. If you look at the charging, that's kind of more normal, and that's with the brakes on, and before the needle on the charge was dipping down to like halfway with everything running like this. So I'm a lot happier about that. Turn those back off. It's a no-zero beast until it gets running, but I think we've fixed that problem now, which is good. I was a little bit worried I was going to end up stranded with a dead battery, so I'm not worried about that anymore. Let's choke. These choke cables, anybody that's had one of these cars or one of these cables knows the problem. You're supposed to twist them to lock them, but it doesn't lock anymore. And this is a new cable I fitted, and it lasted me about a week, and then the locking mechanism just stopped working. I have another one to go on. I expect it will do the same thing, and I'm not sure if it's something to do with the cable or the block that lives inside this steering cowl, but they're not great, so that's why you see clothes pegs in old cars. That's what they're about. No, I'm pretty happy about that. I will take it for a test drive in a bit. I'll see if I can bring you along with me. It's a bit trickier when it's just me on my own. I have no idea if this is going to work, but that's how I have to do it, so let's find out. It feels a lot smoother. It doesn't feel like it's bogging down like it was before, and I'm wondering if some of that bogging down was due to the alternate having to work harder to charge the battery. With this battery, it's not having to work as hard. Choke off. Oops, temperature. I'm a little bit concerned it might be overcharging, but I'm not sure. I don't know. so annoying. Brutal. Jeez. All that drama and it's 30 miles an hour. What a silly car. Oh, and I'm recording this on the very last day of 2021. So, that's probably why it's quite so busy. People going places. That was nice. It's always nice when people say thank you. Makes everyone's day a little bit better. The problem with this car is you have to plan setting off. It does not accelerate very quickly in first. And you can't do it in second. Well, you can, but it's even slower. So you have to plan things like ducking through traffic. You're alright once you've got your momentum up, but getting going needs planning. I think that's an issue with just the gearbox design on these cars. They were just designed to be comfortable and relaxed. They weren't designed for performance. Lots of revs, slow on the clutch. If you get the balance just wrong, it'll just go nope. But on the flip side, it's got bags of torque. Bags of engine braking, which is nice. Can you wait 5 seconds? Jeez. Of course, that is another problem with older cars. People sometimes think you're going slower than you are, but your brakes are better than they are. If you've caused another road user to brake, then you've done it wrong. I don't know, maybe they didn't see me. Maybe the car's too subtle. we are home. About an 8-mile drive that in total. All systems appear to be normal. Apologies for the volume and the sound quality here. The microphone does pick it up a little bit strange. So it seems to make the engine a lot louder than it is over my voice. Good things though. No bubbles, no leaks, that ends fine. That ends fine. I'm very happy about that. There's no bubbles in here. Obviously I'm not going to open it up, everything's hot. But there's no bubbles coming into the coolant. There's nothing coming out the exhaust that shouldn't be. There's no mixing of oil and coolant in there, although I am going to do a coolant change on this. The heaters are very, very hot, and the coolant is now very, very dark. So I think there was something in the heater causing a bit of a blockage that's cleared through. But yeah, apart from that noisy shim, I'm happy with this. It does smell just a bit rich, so I might need to lean the mixture off a little bit. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. So here we go. These are our normal running conditions. So plenty of fuel, a healthy temperature, the coolant fan's coming on and off like it should. The glare on the dials, by the way, this is one of my complaints with this car. You're seeing these dials about as I do when I drive, and this one always has glare on it, and this one always has glare like 70 miles an hour and faster. And it's kind of annoying, but that's just how they are. But you can see the temperature gauge sits between 3/4 and half. It goes to 3/4 when I'm idling, it drops to half-ish when I'm actually driving along. That's pretty normal. The battery is charging about as you would expect it to be. I think as everything just beds in with the new battery, I don't know. But when there's load on, it's behaving normal, so that's good. We have done about 68 miles, it's give or take, which is about the same mileage it had done when the head gasket problem appeared. So, since it hasn't reappeared at about the same mileage, I'm feeling both pretty good about that and very worried it's about to happen. So I want to get another 30 miles under the tyres. Once I've done that, I'll feel a bit more confident that, you know, we're past whatever that problem was. And then I can start looking at doing things like sorting out that noisy shim and taking you through the process on that, because I have a special tool for that, and that's another job I hate doing, but people seem to like the engine work, so I guess I have to do it. The other thing that stopped working, which is slightly disappointing, is my seatbelt warning light. It doesn't work anymore. I don't know if it's the bulb or if it's the triggers in the seats. There's like a big round button that lives in the seat. It's very, very basic. If you're in the seat and you're sat on the seat, then you press the two halves of this button down with your bum, and until you put the seatbelt into the connector, that light will just flash. It's a really simple circuit, and yeah, the really hilarious thing is when they fitted this, seatbelts weren't a legal requirement, and at the point seatbelts became a legal requirement, it was about the same time the Ambassador came out, and the Ambassador doesn't have the seatbelt light. It doesn't tell you that you have to put it on. Another thing, if anybody has a set of these floor mats, please get in touch. I'm after a full set of these, front and rear. This is the only one I've got. The fronts are reversible, they're the same design both sides, the same shape, so you just turn them over to do the driver's side. They're black rubber, and they are incredibly difficult to get hold of now. I don't want to pay a huge amount of money for them because they're floor mats, but I really would like a full set rather than just this one. I think overall that went pretty well, all things considered. It seems to be running much happier. The battery does seem to have smoothed a few things out with the car, which I'm much happier with. I've not got that worry when I've got all the systems on and I'm on the brakes that the alternator can't keep up. It's now not having a problem. So fingers crossed, the only issue there was the battery. I'm delighted that the hazard light issue was just a fuse, just a weird fuse issue. Because I had been scratching my head on what that could be, and I hadn't considered that it would be a fuse that had somehow shorted out. Your guess is as good as mine on that one. This car's always throwing weird problems at me that I do not understand. But maybe you've experienced them back in the day. Thank you for joining me today. It's been a rewarding video, this one. The jobs don't always go how you want them to do, but this time we've had a good day. We'll see what we'll see what tomorrow brings. You never know. I'll see you next Tuesday. Ta-ra.